When a narcissist experiences ghosting, they often feel confused and surprised. This reaction stems from their self-centered worldview, where they expect attention and admiration from others at all times. To suddenly be cut off without explanation or acknowledgement creates a cognitive dissonance. Narcissists who typically expect to control interactions are left questioning the motives behind such an abrupt end. Narcissists thrive on validation and attention from others, especially those close to them. When ghosted, they interpret this as a rejection of their self-importance. For a narcissist, rejection feels like a direct attack on their sense of value, and this emotional wound is deeply unsettling. One of the most unsettling feelings for a narcissist when they are ghosted is the loss of control. They are accustomed to steering relationships, manipulating emotions, and keeping people in their orbit. The silence leaves them powerless, unable to exert influence, which can lead to frustration and anger. Beneath their confident exterior, narcissists often harbor deep insecurities. Ghosting taps into these vulnerabilities, making them feel anxious and insecure. They may start second-guessing their appearance, behavior, or communication, wondering if they did something wrong that caused the person to disappear without a trace. Ghosting can inflict a narcissistic injury, which is an emotional wound that cuts deeply into their self-esteem. This injury can cause feelings of humiliation, as they are not used to being ignored. To them, being ghosted is akin to being invisible, which contradicts their belief that they should always be the center of attention. As a defense mechanism, many narcissists react to ghosting with intense anger or rage. They may blame the person who ghosted them, viewing it as an unforgivable offense. This anger often spirals into vindictive thoughts, where they imagine ways to get back at the individual for making them feel diminished. If you ghost a narcissist, they will overcompensate with self-glorification. After being ghosted, some narcissists try to regain their sense of superiority by inflating their achievements or exaggerating their worth. This overcompensation is a way to distract themselves from the pain of being ignored and to reinforce their belief in their own importance. In many cases, narcissists adopt a victim mentality when ghosted. Instead of taking responsibility for any potential shortcomings in the relationship, they may paint themselves as the wronged party. They may believe that the other person was selfish and ungrateful or immature for ending the relationship without warning. A narcissist's need to dominate relationships often leads them to find ways to reassert control after being ghosted. They may attempt to reach out again, perhaps in an indirect way, such as through social media or mutual connections, hoping to regain the upper hand. This behavior is driven by their need to be in charge of how others perceive them. To restore the emotional equilibrium, narcissists might try to provoke a response from the person who ghosted them. They may do this through manipulative tactics, such as sending ambiguous messages or attempting to make the other person feel guilty. The goal here is not reconciliation, but rather to stir up a reaction that confirms their sense of influence. Narcissists often believe they are entitled to others' time, attention, and affection. When ghosted, they might feel as though they've been wronged because they think they deserve to be treated with difference. This sense of entitlement can amplify the hurt they feel from being ignored, as they believe they have a right to be acknowledged at all times. To cope with being ghosted, a narcissist might seek validation from others. They may turn to friends, family, or even strangers to reaffirm their self-worth. This external validation is a way of filling the void left by the person who ghosted them, although it never truly satisfies their deep need for admiration. Narcissists often engage in over-analysis when they've been ghosted. They replay every interaction, searching for signs that they missed or misinterpreted. This obsessive need to understand the reasons behind the ghosting can lead to mental exhaustion as they struggle to reconcile their inflated sense of self with the reality of being ignored. When ghosted, a narcissist may experience paranoia, convinced that the person is spreading negative stories about them or that there is an ulterior motive behind their silence. This suspicion can lead to irrational behaviors, such as spying on the person or trying to gather information from third parties. A narcissist is likely to attempt to control the narrative of their ghosting experience. They might share their side of the story with others, hoping to cast themselves in a positive light. This could involve bad-mouthing the person who ghosted them or claiming that they were mistreated, all in an effort to maintain their image. Narcissists tend to have little empathy for others, so when ghosted, they may dismiss the other person's feelings altogether. They might assume that the individual who ghosted them was simply acting out of immaturity or spite, refusing to acknowledge that there could be legitimate reasons for the sudden disappearance. A narcissist's emotional patterns often swing between idealization and devaluation. If they were attached to the person who ghosted them, they may initially idealize them, convincing themselves that the person was perfect. However, once ghosted, they quickly shift to devaluing them, convincing themselves that the individual was unworthy or incapable of meeting their needs. The inability to regain contact with someone who ghosted them can lead a narcissist to obsess over reconnection. They may continuously attempt to re-establish communication or wait for the person to come back to them. This behavior is fueled by a desire to restore their ego and assert their importance in the other person's life. A narcissist might indulge in self-pity after being ghosted, thinking about how unfairly they've been treated. This can lead to a cycle of brooding where they wallow in feelings of victimhood. However, this self-pity is often a form of self-centeredness as they remain focused on their own heart rather than considering the needs or feelings of the other person. In extreme cases, narcissists may experience what is known as narcissistic rage after being ghosted. This is an intense emotional outburst triggered by the perceived threat to their self-image. The narcissist may react aggressively, either in private or public, in an attempt to reassert control and regain their lost sense of superiority. Narcissists often engage in passive-aggressive behavior when they feel slighted. If ghosted, they may indirectly express their dissatisfaction through sarcasm, subtle digs, or social media. They will use social media posts which are aimed at the person who ghosted them. These tactics allow them to vent their frustrations without confronting the issue head-on. For narcissists, relationships often serve as a source of narcissistic supply, which refers to the admiration and validation they receive from others. Ghosting removes this supply, leaving them feeling deprived. They might attempt to replace the lost supply by seeking attention elsewhere, but the void remains difficult to fill. As a coping mechanism, narcissists may dehumanize the person who ghosted them. They might convince themselves that the other individual was never worth their time or affection, viewing them as inferior or unworthy. This dehumanization allows the narcissist to protect their fragile ego from further damage.